I drag it in, boom, it has device frames all around it. And hit Command C and then paste with Command V in there, boom, it's got frames around it. And I can drag it down here. I bet a lot of you don't even know this is a thing. I can find my app and drop it in, boom, has device frames. File open, so let's do an iPhone SE, boom, device frames. Select 3 of these and drag them in, boom, device frames. Shortcut support. Hit open, boom, has a frame on it. So I can just hit that button right there and I can just drag it in and boom, has a frame around it. Hi, I'm developer Charlie Chapman and I want to show you how to get Framous. Okay, so I have Framous open right here. And the point of this app is to add device frames around your screenshots. So here in Finder, I have a whole bunch of different screenshots. You can see some are landscape, some are portrait. And the idea here is I want to use them in some sort of promotional material or whatever. And so I want it to have the like iPhone frame around it. So if I take this, let's do the 16 Pro screenshot and I drag it in, boom, it has device frames all around it. I could also click on, let's do this one right here and hit Command C and then paste with Command V in there, boom, it's got frames around it. I can take this landscape one and I can drag it down here. I bet a lot of you don't even know this is a thing. I can find my app and drop it in. Boom, has device frames. I can, of course, hit open here or go to file open and take one of these screenshots. Let's do an iPhone SE. Boom, device frames. If I hit Command A, I can select all of these, or if I don't have any selected, it'll by default have all of them selected. If I hit this eyeball here, or if I hit spacebar, it's going to render the full image and then open it in preview. So now I can see exactly what the image is going to look like. You can see there's transparency behind them. I can zoom in and make sure, you know, this padding looks okay or whatever. I can also click on just one and then do the same thing. And now I'm going to preview just that image. And if I hit Command A and delete, I'll delete them all. I can also select a whole bunch of these. Actually, let's do like, I don't know, 3 of these and drag them in. Boom, device frames. Everything's really straightforward. And the reason is because the whole point of this tool is to be a super fast Mac app that does all of the Mac-y things that you'd expect. And so included in that is how you pull them out, because what's the point in this tool if you can't use them? So I can, you know, hit save either here or file save and save the image. In this case, it would be a combined image. If I have one selected, it would export just that one, but that takes a long time. And then you have a file sitting around. The way I really use this is I just say Command C and then I open up a tool like Sketch and then Command V, boom. I have my image in here that I can do whatever I want. I could select all 3 of them and I could hit Command C and Command V, and I'm going to get it as one big image, but they're not separated. And whenever I'm working in something like Sketch or Figma, I really want these as like separate images that I can work with. So what I can also do is go to edit here and copy separate images. You could also do Control Command C as well. And if I do that, and then this time, let's try Figma and I paste it in, you'll see I now have 3 separate images I can work with. So it's like really fast, straightforward thing to use. And the way I use this a lot is I'm an app developer, so I do screenshots for the App Store a lot. And you can see these are using frames like this. You know, these are all individual screenshots that are framed. So what I do is I'll like take this image right here, or let's do this one so it's more different. I'll copy it and then I can just paste it right in line. And now it's got the updated frame because a new device came out, or I wanted to switch which color it is or how it looks a little bit. That's how I use it. And let's look at kind of how that works. Let's minimize these real quick. So there's a bunch of customization options in here as well. Here, let's just do like a simple one just so that we can make it easy to work with. I'll make it a little bigger. You can also hide this, which is usually actually how I use it because I just kind of use the defaults. But there's a bunch of customization options in this inspector here. So the first you'll see is the device itself. So the first section up here is for the devices that perfectly match the resolution of your image. So like if I grab this 15 Pro, for example, you can see there's actually two different devices that share the same resolution. And so both of those will show in this exact resolution matches. And then there's a section called aspect ratio matches. And these are for the devices that they don't have the exact same resolution, but their aspect ratio is the same, which means that you can drop that screenshot into that frame and there won't be any weird, like hidden, like gaps where there's nothing showing because it matches the same aspect ratio. By default, we will always choose, or Framous will always choose the newest frame that matches your exact resolution, if there is any. And if there's only aspect ratio matches, it'll match on the newest frame that has the exact aspect ratio matches. And then if it doesn't match any at all, it'll use this thing called a generic frame. And so if I pick that, and let's hide this one just so you can see a little better. This is a auto-generated frame. It actually looks pretty similar to the other frames on this device, but let's grab a random image that doesn't match any device at all. So this is a random blog post image that I grabbed from somewhere. So if I drag this guy in, you can see it actually kind of makes it look like a device. It has these little buttons. It has, a bezel that's black, and then it has a, outside frame. And these are pretty customizable. So, because this image was in landscape, it automatically set the buttons to be here and here. If for some reason you wanted these buttons to be on the sides, you can uncheck that rotate buttons button. And then there's also a edge-to-edge mode. So this makes it more like a modern phone where the device screen goes edge-to-edge. If I uncheck this, it'll add big bezels. So it looks more like an old iPhone. Here, let's grab a different image just so this is a little easier. Maybe the iPhone 1. Well, that one looks pretty ugly. Let's do an Android device. My old Nexus 4. How about that? All right, there you go. That's perfect. So this one looks kind of weird whenever it's edge to edge because that display was never really shown that way. But if I turn that off, you can see now it looks a lot more like correct. And part of the reason for that is because when the device wasn't edge to edge, they didn't round the corners of the screen. And so they would put the time like perfectly in the corner. And so that doesn't really look good here, right? In this generic frame, you can change the corner radius. So I could like move that out, but it still doesn't really look right, I think. I think doing it this way looks a little better. But if you are edge to edge, there's some more options here. So you can add a camera cutout. So I could give it a notch, I could give it a pill or a hole punch. And then the big one is I can change the frame color. And so I could make it, a product red or green or something like that. And yeah, let's do, I don't know, something like that right there. And then this advanced section down here is kind of funky. The point of this is to make your screenshot look like it's a higher resolution than it is relative to the rest of the frame. It sounds weird, but I'll just show you. So if I scale this up, you'll see the device bezels get smaller and the buttons get smaller. And so it kind of makes it look, now it almost looks like a tablet. You see what I'm saying? And if I go down really low, it almost looks more like an Apple Watch. And that's important for really old screenshots, like this old iPhone 1. On this one, this looks ridiculous because these bezels are massive because that screen resolution was so small. So you can scale it up so it kind of looks a little more like the old one. And actually, in this case, this would be another one where you'd really want it to be edge to edge like that. So that's the generic frame. Any device you can select generic frame, or you can select no frame as well. But if you drop one in that doesn't, if you drop a screenshot in that doesn't match any of my frames or aspect ratios, it'll default to this as well. And the generic frame, it should be mentioned, is completely free. The free version supports this. So even though you won't have access to all the different frames of all the devices, at the very least, you can still make it look framed like it's from some kind of device. What else is there to share here? So, I showed you how to copy multiple images. The last one maybe that's worth pointing out is if you have a whole bunch of images that you want framed, you can, I have the Finder selected. You can bulk save so that it will actually save them out as, let's do this to the desktop. It'll save them all out as separate images instead of one giant image. So this is similar to the copy paste I don't know why it's not showing. Did I put it in the right desktop? Oh, there they all are. Why is it not showing in my desktop? Oh, it's because I'm screen recording. Well, there you can see I have a bunch of the images separately framed. So that's good if you have just a whole bunch of different images that you want to generate. Let's see. I didn't show the customization options for the frames, the regular framed images themselves. So let's close that, and you can hear my dogs just howling at the mailman. So if we take the newer iPhone 16 Pro, and I can select that or not select that. You don't really need to if there's only one selected. So I could select the device, but I can also change the color. So all the different colors that Apple has frames for, you can switch to any of them. And then there's this scale mode, alignment, and background color. These don't really matter at all if the device that you're, or if the screenshot matches the device that you're rendering in. But if I were to select a device such as the iPhone SE, where it doesn't match at all, you can see there's these bezels on the side right now, and those are black because that's the default, because that'll make it, usually the device bezels are black, so that'll make it match the best. But if I change this color to magenta, you'll see that, there's now a magenta background there. And so I can change the scale mode to be fill or stretch, so it'll make sure that it fits within that device frame. And if you're on fit, you can also change the alignment. So I can make it left or right or top or bottom. If the way that this didn't fit was the other way and I had bezels on the top and bottom, I could push it to the top. And that's useful if the way that you're using this screenshot is actually like to be zoomed in. So like here, now this looks totally fine, even if there's a big old magenta bar on the left. If this is being used in some sort of marketing material and you only need the side, or you only need the top or the bottom, that's where it's helpful to use this alignment. But like I said, if you have an exact match, it's not going to matter at all. The last major thing kind of to show here is shortcut support. So like I said, I want this to be the fastest way to quickly create frames. And so I support all those different ways of copying and pasting and dragging and dropping. But also automation is a really big part of that, especially if you're like a developer or a journalist or something and you're doing this all the time. And let's just create a new shortcut. And let's look for Framous. And here there's a shortcut called Frame Screenshots. So if I add that and show more here, you can see there's a couple different options. So I can choose to save it as to save the screenshots as multiple separate images if there's multiple images passed in, or I can combine them into one. I'm going to keep it combined into one. And then if they're combined, you can change what the spacing is between the images. I'm just going to leave that at 0 for now. And then I'm going to set this to take in the input from the shortcut. And so now this should receive images that come into the shortcut. And for the shortcut, I'm going to say if it doesn't have anything coming in, I'm going to have it ask for a file. And then that way I can make sure that if I run this, like from here right now, it'll ask me for a file instead of just freaking out. And then let's just run this and see what it does. So if I hit play, it should ask me for a file. You can see I'm on the Apple Watch section of my samples. So there's like an Apple Watch screenshot. And if I open it, boom, it's got a frame on it. Pretty straightforward. Now, this is obviously just sitting in shortcuts. That's not very useful. So what we want to do really is I'm going to say copy to clipboard. And so now it should take the image that's popped out of this and copy it to the clipboard. And so if I run this, and let's do this one this time. All right, it should have copied it. So if I were to open up Figma and go over here and hit paste, boom, look at that. It's got it in there. And what's cool with shortcut support is you can do some really cool stuff like expose it in different places in the system. So what I like to do is turn on this use as a quick action. You can also show it in the share sheet, which is handy. Make sure it works on Finder. And then I add a keyboard shortcut. Let's just do something crazy so I know I don't have it already used. So Control, Shift, Option, Command, C. That's really easy to hit. All right, so this theoretically should be good. So now if I go back over to Finder and let's grab this, let's do this iMac 27-inch screenshot here. And I do Control, Shift, Option, Command, C. And hopefully that worked. And I go over to Finder and I hit paste. Boom, look at that. There's a frame. So that's really cool. I don't have to have the app open at all. Once this is set up, I can just like literally grab a screenshot and instantly create a framed version of it and just paste it into Slack to send to my designer, or paste it into Figma for my designs or whatever. I guess the last one to show really quick, this one's a shout out to all developers out there. So if I'm a developer and I'm using the simulator a lot, let's pull one of these over here. Let's minimize some of this stuff to get it out of the way. Get back to our normal app here. Okay, so if I'm like, creating an app in the simulator, and I need to get a screenshot here, I can just hit that button right there, and I can just drag it in, and boom, has a frame around it. So it's just like way easier. I didn't create a file that's sitting on my file system somewhere just to then run through something to add a screenshot to it. It's just there right away. I can now copy this and paste it into Slack or whatever and move on with whatever it is I'm doing. And I don't have just a bunch of floating screenshot files all over my system, which is what I had before, which is why I ended up making this app. So there you go. That's Framous. That's what it is right now. I have a lot of ideas for what this could be in the future. I'm really curious what you all have as ideas for what this can be in the future. I know there's a lot of other tools and ways of doing this right now, but I just want to focus on what's the most like efficient thing that can work right into your workflow. I don't want to make this the most feature-rich app in the world. I want to make it the most efficient app at doing a very specific thing for lots of different people. So if that means more automation tools, if that means more frame types. One of the things I really want to add is the ability to drop a square image and it just automatically turns it into a rounded rectangle that matches app icons, or a rounded squircle that matches app icons. I've had people reach out about adding Safari or Chrome frames around their screenshot, which sounds weird, but I've actually found myself doing something similar with Arc in the past. And so there's a bunch of weird things like that I want to hear from you, because this is an opportunity to make something that weirdly fits your workflow and makes your life as a journalist, as a developer, as a designer easier. And that's what I really want to focus on. Thank you if you made it this far. Hopefully this app is useful for you. If it's not, let me know. If it is, let me know. I always want my ego to get bigger if I can. So yeah, you can find Framous on the Mac App Store. Right now it's Mac only, but I definitely do want to bring it to iOS. And actually on that point, a very weird thing to do in a promotional video. If you want it on iOS, I would actually recommend an app called ShareShot. It came out as I was developing this app, so I didn't divert, but it's actually a really good app for doing similar things to this. I like to think that I have some advantages over it, particularly in the case of speed and efficiency, especially on the Mac. But ShareShot is genuinely a great app. I've tried not to use it too much to, influence how I build mine, but a lot of people really like it. Highly recommend it. But that one's available on iOS. So if you want something like this on iOS, you can use that for now. But I do want to bring mine to iOS eventually. All right. You can find ShareShot on the Mac App Store, or you can go to framous.app if you want to see a horribly quickly put together website. But that's where I'm going to start adding more details and information if you want anything else.